We're in Dubai, getting ready for the 2023 Abu Dhabi Desert Challenge. On The Brink Motorsport are entered, and this event is one of the many in their lead up to Dakar in 2024. Today was the first day of testing, and team driver Glenn Brinkman was getting reacquainted with the PH Sport Zephyr.
Yeah, no, it feels just like last time. It's not the same car that we drove in the last event at Morocco, but it's exactly the same type of car. So you wonder whether it'll be the same, but it just feels like exactly the same car. So a little bit different though. The tyre, a lot lower tyre pressure, just because it's all dunes for this event. So that's probably the hardest thing to get used to, and just getting back into reading the dunes.
What's the techniques for the dunes?
Yeah, I don't have a technique. That's what I'm here to work on. But yeah, no, it's just about trying to read the dunes, like what's over the dune, whether it's a sharp drop or if it's smooth. You know, trying to tell your head that you got to go left and then go right at the top, or vice versa. So it's pretty hard to teach yourself something new like that.
Anything else that's changed significantly in this vehicle? Obviously it's white now, it was black last time.
Yeah, you know, always got to change the scheme, that's what we do. But other than that, it's pretty much identical type of car, just the tyres, tyre pressure, running different size rims just to suit the sand, that's all.
And for co-driver Dale Moscatt, he's no stranger to this event, having competed here and also at Dakar in the past.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's a fantastic event. I've said before, it's one of the most beautiful events you'll do. The dunes, which are the biggest part of this event, are absolutely spectacular. They are huge. There's smaller, sharper. It's got a variety of everything. But generally, I'd say sort of 80-90% of the rallies fought out in the dunes. But there's always a bite to that, isn't there? So yeah, it's a flip side between enjoying yourself and trying to push on and go as fast as you can. So we'll see where we go in the balance of it all.
And you've experienced the dunes and how to take the dunes. Obviously that needs to be now transferred into Glenn's mind.
Whenever you talk about driving, everyone drives a car. So when it comes to getting in and doing a track day or anything else, you're only a little bit different to what you're normally doing. So coming here, it's a huge difference. Like, it's such a different driving style in the dunes to what it is everywhere else. There's so much about weight transfer and all these sorts of things with the car. There's so many facets to this to learn. So yeah, adapting your driving style as quickly as possible, firstly to make it safe, and certainly then to try and get more speed out of it, is very tricky. But Glenn's not an idiot. He's a very versatile driver. He's done quite a lot in the past in different sorts of categories and cars. So yeah, I think we're both looking forward to the next step in his progression towards Dakar.
We're in Al Danar City on the coastline of the Persian Gulf, and it's prologue time for the Abu Dhabi Desert Challenge. There's almost 50 cars lined up for the 6 kilometre stage, and for the only Australian driver in a car, Glenn Brinkman has been looking forward to completing the Prologue stage.
Australian duo here of Glenn Brinkman and Dale Moscatt in their PA Sports Zephyr.
Yeah, it's been a while coming now, a few days, just hanging, waiting, but to get it out of the way is, it's a big relief. It's not really, it's not relevant at all actually, the type of road we just did to what we're going to be doing in the dunes, but still good to give the car a bit of a run under a competition type of stage.
Now, this rally is all about dunes, and there was not one dune. In fact, it was dirt today. It was dusty. It was everything the dunes aren't.
Yeah, it's probably the opposite of everything we're going to have for the next 5 days, but there was still a lot of soft sand there, so that was still interesting to see what the car does. But yeah, we obviously ran more tyre pressure and allowing for it to be a lot rougher and stonier than it will be for the next 5 days.
And your approach today, obviously quite different to what you're going to do for the rest of the week.
Yeah, it was just don't do anything silly, don't look like a fool in the first corner, which would have been very easy to do. And speaking with a fair few of the other competitors, they did exactly the same thing, just get through it. Road position is not so important in the dunes because there won't be the dust.
Long stage tomorrow, start of the rally proper. What is going to be your strategy?
Just get through the first day and hopefully improve day by day. I haven't really set any goals other than try not to get out of that car too much and do too much digging.
5 days, plenty of dunes. What are you looking forward to most?
These are real dunes compared to anything I've done before, so yeah, it's no Stockton Beach, so yeah, I'm looking forward to that the most.
For co-driver Dale Moscatt, he knows this stage is not indicative of the rest of the event, but it does have similarities.
Probably similar to what we've been doing at home in the Australian Off-Road Championship. But look, settles the nerves, all those sorts of things. I'm sure there's a lot of butterflies. Everybody talks about the dunes and how big they are here, and I know it's quite intimidating coming here for the first time. It was for me even. So yeah, if Glenn was feeling the nerves, hopefully today's just sort of managed to calm them a little bit. So we won't talk about big dunes.
Now, as a navigational rally, there was not a lot of navigation there. It was all marked. There was posts on either side of the course. So for you, it was a bit cruisy. Tomorrow, it's not at all.
Yeah, it's a twofold thing, you're right. Basically, most of the time there was a red circle on one side and a red circle on the other, and we were supposedly supposed to stay to this lane. All the big guys had taken most of those out anyway. But there was 25 waypoints today in 6K, so or 22 in that actual stage. So yeah, it was. I've got to stay on top of that. So essentially, I have 2 screens running. I have one with the actual tulips and the route instructions in it, and another one I have the trace of what we've been doing and all the waypoints. And I've got to monitor that we're getting all those sequentially, because if you get them out of order, there's huge penalties. So yeah, when we saw how it was today, that was my main role, was to make sure we didn't cut any corner too much where other people had, because you've only got to be a little bit off and they might have tagged it and you don't, and that's a disaster. So yeah, anyway, we got through.
It's the first proper day of the Abu Dhabi Desert Challenge, and Special Stage 1 takes us from Al Dinar City through to the Marib Dune. 242 kilometres of dunes and sand. And after a gruelling 3 hours and 48 minutes, the team has worked their way into 5th place in the T3 category.
Yeah, it was a bit of a surprise. We started out on our own and had the odd competitor catch us, and we were very fortunate. With about 100 k's in, we had a competitor come past us, and Dale suggested that I should stay with him as long as I could, and we managed to stick with him for the remainder of the stage, 140 k's, and it was pretty good because he's very experienced and we could learn a lot from him. So yeah, I took a lot in from following.
So tell us how the car performed today.
Car was perfect. Yeah, it's such an easy car to drive. Obviously, good car for me to learn in as well. I feel like it's my car, to be honest. It's it's the suspension and the power. We didn't have any issues. We did manage to get stuck on the very, very last dune, which was ironically the largest dune, and I was following the guy and just a bit too close behind him. He stopped on top. We stopped behind him, reversed back down and had a couple of goes getting back up, so dropped a little bit of time, but all in all pretty good.
And tell us how the experience of the dunes has been for you today, because it is a new experience. Some of those dunes are very big.
Everybody told me they were going to be big, but I certainly underestimated what it was going to be about. So yeah, I think I had we been on our own, I might have struggled a little more. It was just so easy just to take in what somebody else does and how they attack them.
Tomorrow, another day. What's the strategy?
Just do my own thing again, which is how we started out. And, if we pick up somebody else, we'll try and hold with them. And I think the biggest thing I've picked up here is that you can learn so much from following somebody else.
It's a perfect start. When you think about this beforehand and you think about how things could pan out, this is probably the perfect scenario. For someone with as little experience as Glenn's got, the dunes and how to attack them and what happens over on the other side of them, it's very, very daunting. And I know, that sort of pressure was building up on him a little bit. We got through the first part of the stage reasonably easily. It wasn't too tricky, and then luckily for us, it's a cat and mouse game here, and you can, when you catch somebody, it's very easy to catch that last bit to them and stay with them, because you can see where they're braking for things and then getting off the brake when there was nothing there and going again over all the blind crests. So when someone caught up to the back of us, who was a quick guy, we managed to tag onto the back of him and said to Glenn, at times you go a little bit out of your comfort zone to stay with them when they're a faster driver like that. But we did that. I think we calculated that quite well, and we were able to stay behind them, and Glenn could learn exactly what he was doing, the lines he was taking, how much attitude on the car over some of the pitched dunes and things like that. So it was a great learning day.
Special Stage 2 of the Abu Dhabi Desert Challenge was a 257-kilometre loop from Qasr Al Sarab and then back again. Taking in big dunes again today, Glenn Brinkman and Dale Moscatt in the PH Sport Zephyr spent 4 hours and 39 minutes in the desert, longer than expected. They were 16th in the T3 category.
The easiest way to summarise today is Glenn learnt why they added the word challenge to the end of Abu Dhabi Desert Challenge. Difficult day, but that's, as I say, that's part of these sorts of events. The first 30 Ks or so was fine, and then Ekstrom came through and we tagged onto the back of him and we were following him, and obviously they're pushing on really hard, and we had a bit of a big panic break into one drop away, and something went wrong with the brakes, so we had to pull over and check it. It's way too dangerous out there to be pushing on with no brakes. So had a little bit of a play with that. Unfortunately, we couldn't find anything, so we pushed on. We tapped it off to just rear brakes for a little while, but it doesn't take long for them to get hot. So eventually, we just had to basically put up with minimal brakes for the day. So in a sand event, not the end of the world. Obviously, the resistance there, the car does slow itself down anyway, but we had to coast into a lot of stuff that we would normally be pushing up into. That was that side. Quite a hot day today, and we had an issue with one of the electrical plugs on one of the fans. We have two thermo fans on the cooling pack, and one of them was playing up, so I'm quite sure what it was. The light was showing that the fan was on. We had to stop a couple of times when the car went into a limp mode, and after it did that a couple of times and scrolled through some pages and found that yes, the light was saying it was on, but there was zero current draw, so there was no voltage going through the fan, and jumped out, and sure enough, the fan, one of them wasn't actually working. So a little bit of MacGyvery stuff and got that going, and it got us through to the end of the day, so not the end of the world.
Yeah, it was pretty tough. I learned a lot today. We had obviously had the overheating issues and had to stop several times just to let it cool down before we entered the big dunes, until we realised it was a pretty easy solution to fix. Push a plug back in, and wish we'd have known that 3 hours earlier. But they were pretty big dunes today and very technical, so that's what I'm here for. So I'm not overly concerned about the loss of time, more that we got to do it all, and I'll keep learning.
And this is a long rally, so realistically dropping a bit of time on day 2 is not the end of the world.
Yeah, no, look, I mean, the result is what it is. So long as we keep going and get to do every kilometre of the dunes, that's the most important thing for me. And it's certainly a challenge, that's for sure.
What was the highlight of the day? I know what the low light was. What was the highlight of the day?
As much as I'm nervous about hitting the really dry sand in the afternoon, and that was probably the highlight when you get through it and you get through it good, you feel like a superstar.
And tomorrow, what's the plans for tomorrow? I know the guys are working on the car to try and fix the brakes and things. What's the plan for tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm sure they'll resolve the problems. It's a little bit hard to explain what it is, but they're smart guys, they'll work it out. And we'll just start fresh tomorrow and do our best.
It's the midpoint of the Abu Dhabi Desert Challenge, and Special Stage 3 was 266 kilometres of some of the biggest and toughest dunes so far. Starting and finishing at the bivouac at Qasr Al Sarab, the On The Brink Motorsport team made up plenty of ground in the stage to be placed 9th in the T3 category, with a time of 4 hours and 25 minutes.
Yeah, it didn't start out so well. I think I went maybe less than 1 kilometre and bogged it in the first lot of dunes, so wasn't feeling too good at that stage, but we got out of that all right. And then the next 30 Ks was really tough, and I didn't know how I was going to do the rest of it at that stage, but it opened up a bit. And then at about 70 Ks, some faster cars who had troubles the day before, they passed us and we were able to stick on with them, and they're quite experienced, and we managed to stay with them for the rest of the race.
Some changing conditions today. It was very windy at points. There was a lot of dust in the air, and we even had a little bit of rain.
Yeah, I reckon we got 3 or 4 spots. It wasn't enough to settle the dust, that's for sure. But yeah, no, it was. Dale said that is as technical as it gets, because it was pretty demanding at times. But same as what I said yesterday, when you get it right, it feels pretty good.
And today you got it pretty right, and so you've made up good ground on the rest of the field in terms of the outright position.
Yeah, we saw a few T3s parked up today. There was a few people had problems, so that's all about what it's all about over 5 or 6 days is circulating. So yeah, so it'll keep moving us up if we can have another day like today.
2 more days to go. What's the plan? Push on tomorrow?
If I had another day like today, I'd be pretty happy. So yeah, they've got a couple of little things to fix on the car, but the car was faultless today. So if we have a perfect car again tomorrow, that's the main thing for me now.
It was a good day. Challenging, but as I said, that's why we come here. It's not easy, and that's the most rewarding when you get it right. So yeah, I think we got most of it right today. Probably the most demanding dunes that you'll get. We did have a couple the other day, but it was relentless this morning. I said to Glenn at one point, he was puffing and panting, and we'd been going for about 45 minutes at that point, and I said, well done mate, we've done 30k. It's amazing the average speed you carry climbing those really technical dunes, and there's layers of it, so it's not like people think you're climbing up one massive dune and then you go over the top and down the other side. It's not. There's all these layered, tiered levels to them, and they're all different on different sides, soft, hard, all the rest of it. And there's bowls in between, so it is very, very tricky. You have to be really on top of what you're doing, and it was great that we were able to follow some experienced people through today, and we managed to hang on to the back of them, which is invaluable really. So it's probably a little bit higher pace than what we would have been able to do by ourselves. It's a great school day.
And I saw you a couple of times in some pretty high speed sections too.
There was, yeah, and it was on and off. After we got through that first sort of 30 to 50k of really technical stuff, it opened out and there was patches of dunes, patches of big open plateaus and rolling dunes, but there's no time to rest. Even in those big rolling dunes, we're sitting pretty much on our speed cap, which is 135 for the category, and there's dropaways. So you need to be really, really careful. We got caught out by one today and put the thing on its nose, and it's just what everyone gets, you've got to be really, really careful the whole time. It was hard for Glenn. He got a bit of sand. I think he made a bit of a rookie error and tried to adjust his goggles when we were in some dust, and he got sand in them, and then it just circulates. So at the refuel, we had to get some water out and had to tell him to close his eyes before he bled to death. He was all really struggling with his eyes, but a bit of a reset, mouthful of water, and away you go. I think we still had another 160k to go at that point, but yeah, that's these types of adventures.
Special Stage 4, the penultimate stage of the rally. The plan for a 308-kilometre stage was thwarted by thick fog, and a 2-hour delay saw the stage shortened to just 173 kilometres. The test was another loop from Qasr Al Sarab, and the team finished the stage 4th in the T3 category. We found Glenn down by the pool relaxing.
Yeah, real good day today. We this morning Dale gave me the job. The job was to when we got passed by Austin Jones, the 23 Dakar winner for T3. He said I must follow him, and it was I thought it was a tall ask, but it was actually quite good, enjoyable, and made for a fast time. We did the first 20 kilometres on our own, and then we managed to stick with him for the next 160 kilometres. The stage was shortened from 300 with the fog. For the bikes, they had to start late, but massive learning curve today.
An exceptional result, really, and 13th outright amongst all those bigger cars that have got a lot more horsepower.
Yeah, look, it just goes to show you the pace that the front guys run at, and if you can stay with them, how much time you can get. Of course, we still had to drive the stage, but pretty impressed with 5th and over the moon with 13th overall.
Now, it's one thing to say that you're following another car, but you've still got to keep up. You've still got to drive the wheels off that thing.
Yeah. There's no letting off when you're following a front runner like Austin. But yeah, it shows what the car's capable of. Today I spent more time not just watching the brake lights, but watching the way the car moves in the dunes to try and react the same. And it made for very easy driving.
We had a cracking day in the dunes today. Yeah, it was interesting. We actually had a few spots of rain this morning, and once again, very tricky conditions at the start. A lot of fast flowing things where you've got to question all the drops, because in the book or in the electronic road book, it was cautioning a lot of sharp drops. So we're a little bit wary of that. Austin came up on us, and we talked about the task for Glenn of trying to stay on the back of him and learning as much as you can. Like, he's twice Dakar champion, or he's sort of dominating that category, and you can learn a lot from those guys. He's got so much experience. So yeah, we tried to stay with him as long as we could, and it was invaluable. So had a lot of fun, a lot of big jumps and ramps over the top of dunes and things like that you only get here in Abu Dhabi. So yeah, fantastic day.
Just walk us through how Glenn's progressed over this week at this event.
Yeah, look, as we've spoken about before, he came here as a complete rookie in the sand, and it's very intimidating and daunting doing that here. Everybody talks about how big the dunes are, and yeah, it's true. They're huge, and they're also very, very tricky, even on the smaller ones and the bowls. So yeah, coming with zero experience to where we sit at the end of today, I don't think we could have asked for more. Conditions have been ideal for us. And I think we've played our cards really well so far. So yeah, I think Glenn can be extremely proud of what he's done so far, but there's always a sting in the tail, so let's see how we go tomorrow.
It's the final day of the Abu Dhabi Desert Challenge, and the On The Brink team would start the day in position 13 on the road. They were looking to improve their position, but the day wouldn't go according to plan.
Yeah, probably wasn't the ending that I was hoping for. As I remember Dale said yesterday, there might be a sting in the tail, and it happened to get us today. So we actually had a really good first 60 kilometres on our own. Didn't catch anybody, didn't have anybody catch us. So I felt like I was driving quite well. And doing it all on my own, in my own time, listening to what Dale had to give to me. And somebody eventually passed us, and I decided to follow them, and it was just a nothing. And we just put it on its lid, well, actually vertical, and took about half an hour to get that righted with the help of another crew. Gathered ourselves back together, and went about another 10 kilometres or so following another car, and there were some loose parts on the car, and the bonnet, we were driving along a main road part which was quite dusty, which is okay to follow the brake lights, and the bonnet finally ripped off, and that I think took my concentration momentarily, and then went into a pretty violent roll, and had a little trip in a helicopter and a few stitches later, and that's all she wrote. But it was disappointing not to be able to give the team a good result and us a good result as well. But I'm still pretty positive in the fact that we learned a lot, like this weekend. I've taken a lot and learned a lot, and it'll help us for Dakar.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it down as a fantastic day, but look, we came here as a learning experience, and that's what we got. I think we had pretty much everything during the event, and not just the highs and lows. I think experience-wise, there was so much we gained from what we came here to do. The navigation's not as tricky here, but following the cap headings is something that Glenn hasn't done before. So from that perspective, it was fantastic, because literally for 5 days you're literally following cap headings the whole way. So it was good to give him that experience of doing that, because that's critical at times during Dakar. And as I said, coming here with zero experience to the places where we got to follow people and see what the outright speed is and see what these cars are capable of, and I think that's quite important to know and understand what the car's capable of, because they're not purpose-built race cars. Essentially, they're modified agricultural vehicles. So knowing what the car's capable of and seeing those gun guys attack the stages and being able to do that ourselves following them was sensational. That was great. So I think, look, the accident was unfortunate. It was a big accident. We're not going to hide or shy away from that fact, but it's all part of the process, isn't it? So we know where the limit is on, and it was probably a little bit of a silly rookie type error in the way that it all happened, but we've learned from that. I can see, and Glenn and I have spoken about how that happened and how we might be able to prevent that in the future. It wasn't a case of us being idiots and trying to prove anything. We had a huge gap behind us today. We weren't trying to do anything silly, but just got caught out in a place, and I think in Dakar that happens quite often. You are following in dust, and these things do happen. So lessons learned. We walked away, and the team's very happy. The car was sensational. We were comfortable in it, and I think a lot of positives from this event.